Hello, everyone. My name is Marcio Katz. I'm the CEO of GetGlobal International, and it's a great pleasure to be here with you today. We are back with our data privacy lives every Wednesdays, 6 p.m. Eastern Time. And today we're going to talk about something extremely exciting, the expanding field of data privacy in the US. So stick with us. It's going to take like 5 minutes until everybody um, gets in the room. So we'll start in 5 minutes, okay? Okay, we are just about to start our live today, just a couple of minutes, um, and then we'll start. So everyone is going to be able to join us. As I said before, we are going to talk about the expanding field of data privacy in the US. Is that an opportunity for those who work in different fields and feel like switching to data privacy? What is data privacy? What exactly data privacy brings to the table when it comes to new opportunities? So those things we'll talk about in few minutes. Okay. Okay, great. It's about time. So let's start our live here today. Um, so, talking about data privacy all around the world, actually, we need to picture what's the current scenario when it comes to the use of personal data. Actually, we live the information society nowadays, and information data is the new gold of this era. Therefore, many companies, many business models, they are based on the way they use personal data. So big companies like Facebook, Google, um, Amazon, big e-commerce chains, and many other business, they pretty much need personal data in order to make more money. That's pretty much it. So this information society era that we are living in um, brought us some issues when it comes to privacy. So in some cases and in some countries, the governments they started regulating the way that companies collect and process personal data. So GetGlobal's international slogan is data privacy nowadays is global because it is. So the way that companies are processing and the way they are going to process personal data from now on is something that is important for most people all around the world, and especially for some governments. I usually say that there are different standards uh, uh, when it comes to the way that the governments regulate the way that companies process personal data. There is the European standard under the GDPR, the General Data Protection Regulation. It's one way of regulating the way that companies process personal data. There is the US standard, um, which is a little bit different. There is no, there is there isn't one federal law that covers most situations when it comes to personal data. It's more sectorial. So there are a piece of legislation in different fields and different situations, like finance, education, children, health. So it's a different standard. It's a different way of regulating the personal data. There is the Chinese standard, which is a different thing. And there might be in the future the Indian standard, because India is also debating a new legislation to regulate data privacy. But at the end of the day, um, what is important nowadays for American companies is pretty much um, the image uh, that they have uh, when it comes to the way they process personal data. Most customers are becoming more worried about the way that big companies are collecting and processing their data. So and the companies, they want to be more friendly and want to be seen as a company that won't do anything to harm you, or something that will be disrespectful to your privacy. We've been seeing different scandals, like the analytics scandal with Facebook, and some others scandal. So most companies will start be more worried about the way they are processing personal data, because they don't want to do anything bad for their image and the way that the customers will see them. Besides that, there is all, of course, the regulation. As I said before, there are different standards, but many American companies, they do business in different parts of the world, and they will have to comply with those different data privacy regulations. We've been seeing quite often um, some legal issues that Google and Facebook are facing in Europe. I've just read an article saying that Meta, which is the new name for Facebook, has just got a new fine of 17 million euros from the Irish data privacy regulator, um, because of the way they process personal data, and that supposedly is against the GDPR, the General Data Protection Regulation. So at the end of the day, many American companies, especially the ones that do business in different parts of the world, they will definitely have to comply with different regulations. Um, so that might be a big change for the business, and for especially for new business, because we will have to first change the way that we collect and process personal data. So that means that there will be a lot of work in order to first do the assessment and understand where the data comes from. Why do we collect those data? what do we do with that data? Who do we share those data with? So there are so many questions that we need to answer under those regulations, especially the European standard regulation, because it's more restrict. Um, and it's not just Europe, but just to let you guys know, there are some other countries that are following the same standard, the same European standard, a more GDPR-like regulation, like Australia and Brazil. So definitely we'll have a lot of work, a lot of consulting work in order to help companies to understand what they do and the things that they should change in their procedures to comply with those regulations. Besides that, what about the new businesses? They need to to be built under those regulations. So we also will have a lot of work to do what we call privacy by design. So a new app, a new software, a new platform, they will have to come up to the market to be launched compliant with those regulations. Therefore, there will be a lot of work in order to help those companies, those business, to to do the privacy by design. Um, Besides that, there are so many other things. People quite often they misunderstand the concept of personal data. Oh, sorry, that data protection and data privacy. Data protection and data privacy, they are different things, but they are complementary because data privacy is the way you process personal data. Data protection is the way you protect data. But they come together because definitely there is no data privacy if the data is not protected. But the data being protected doesn't mean that there is data privacy. So both things needs to come together because there might be a business that complies with all the privacy, data privacy regulation, so they process the personal data under the legislation, but they are not, the data is not protected. And if there is a data leak, there might be some legal issues. But sometimes the business is pretty good when it comes to data protection. It follows all the procedures of information security, but they don't process, they don't use the personal data properly. So there also will be a lot of work in order to work with both things. So even information security is something that became more important when it comes when it comes to helping business to comply with data protection regulations. So I feel that more and more there will be opportunities for different professionals to switch a career and get specialized in data privacy. That's something that we saw in Europe. Many information security professionals, or even lawyers, corporate lawyers, or compliance officers, they became specialized in data privacy, and sometimes they even switched career because that's a new field a new opportunity for different professionals, especially um, uh, when you work with in the consulting um, field. Even for some business, there might be some opportunities because if you are a software company and you work on your software and your software becomes a software that's compliant with data privacy regulation, that means that you be that you have an advantage compared with your competitor that's not compliant with a data privacy regulation. Or even if you are a software company and you want to think about data privacy softwares that would help company to be sure that they are compliant with a data privacy regulation, that might be a great opportunity. One of one of the magazines, I think it's Inc. magazine, business magazine in the US, there is one special issue about I think it's about the most growing business in the US. And I remember that, I don't know if it was last year or the year before, the most growing US company was OneTrust. OneTrust is a data privacy software. So that shows that even if you are a software company and if you wants to have a product um, to help other business to comply with data privacy, that might be an opportunity. But just one thing: there is no silver bullet, and there is no software that's going to do all the work. GetGlobal International has just launched the result of a survey that we did last week, and we asked a data privacy professional how important data privacy software is in a data privacy program. And 70% of the professionals said that it's one of the most important things among others. So there are some other things that are as important as a data privacy software, especially a specialized consulting consultancy. That's probably one of the most important things, because there are definitely things that a data privacy software won't be able to do uh, just because it's not possible. When it comes to the regulation, we also need to know that uh, things are growing in the US. Uh, I have here three different news. One from Lexo Lodge. It says U.S. data privacy compliance roadmap for 2022, and the first paragraph says there is no doubt 2022 will be a big year for data privacy compliance, with three new laws going into effect 2023. What are those three laws? The state of California, Colorado, and Virginia already have data privacy legislation. So therefore, if your U.S. company is not doing business internationally, but you were selling, offering products to customers in Colorado, California, or even Virginia, uh, you definitely have to think about data privacy, and you definitely have um, to find a specialist to help you in order to do the assessment and understand what the things that you should change to comply with those pieces of legislation. One more news here. It says global data privacy market to reach $6 billion by 2026. A new market study published by Global Industry Analysts Incorporation, the premier market research company, today released its report titled Data Governance, Global Market Trajectory and Analytics. The report presents fresh perspective on opportunities and challenges in a significantly transformed post-COVID-19 market. And the last news from the IAPP, the International Association for Privacy Professionals, says U.S. House Committee reopens dialogue on federal privacy legislation. So that's really important because there are some debate going on in the U.S. House in order to discuss a federal privacy legislation. So I feel that in a short future, the U.S. will have a federal data privacy regulation legislation, actually, because the U.S. already has a regulation. It's just a different standard compared with the European General Data Protection Regulation. There are different laws for different situations and different sectors, but there might be in the future one a piece of legislation more comprehensive and federal.